Let's talk about skill build and item builds. Item build, very simple. Tangos, Gauntlet, Circlet, Quilling Blade, and a branch. You can actually mix it up and pick up a Ring of Protection against very difficult lanes. Let's say you're against a Slaughter and Alina. I think picking up a Ring of Protection can be very viable as your hero only has 2 armor and struggles in that department. But why is Wraith King a great laner with the new W, which is what you typically will take at level 1? The E is not bad as it's a reliable crit, but being able to build up skeletons very early on and lifesteal is a nice skill. Now why is this good? Because now you can take your lifesteal at level 1 and it has a purpose. It builds up skeletons, which are great in the lane. They help you push out the lane and secure CS. And you get lifesteal, which helps you sustain. Wraith King wants to sustain. This is not a hero that wins the lane. So as we watch the laning stage, sure, he has an Undying. It's Undying against Legion, so he is going to be able to put more pressure than Wraith King usually would against Legion. But for the most part, it's going to be a very passive laning stage. What he's going to want to try to do is simply farm up, hit his timings, and snowball the game with strong and efficient item timings. Alright, jumping ahead here, let's talk about the skill build you want to go on Wraith King and the item build going into the mid game. So for the laning stage, your strategy is very simple, guys. You're typically not putting a lot of pressure and you're just focused on CS and denies. Like, please, if you're picking Wraith King, you have to have at least 25 CS by minute 5 and at least 10 denies. I know that's a very high deny goal, but I want to keep your standards high. I want to make sure everyone who's watching this and is playing carry and going to give this a go focuses on CS. Do not complicate your laning stage. Now, as we go back here, you're going to look at the skill build and say, Speed, you're telling us to play passive, you're telling us to play for CS, and yet Dreamacell, who is a professional player that we're watching here, actually has 2 points in the stun. Now why is this? It's for the same reason I mentioned before. He's laning with an Undying. Undying counters Legion. The enemy position 4 is an Earthshaker, a hero that does not really put that much pressure on Wraith King. And so he knows he has a lot of potential to put aggression here. And so having the stun makes sense. But if your lane is trash, and you know it's going to be trash, don't take 2 points in the stun. Take your E, have this reliable crit that will allow you to secure CS, and lifesteal at a high amount pretty consistently. So upcoming here is going to show the first reason why I think Wraith King is just incredibly strong. The hero's pattern is simple. The hero's laning is simple. I mentioned early on you want to focus on CS. Then, let's say you get to the 7 to 8 minute mark. What do you want to start doing? Well, what you want to start doing is pulling to the side camps. This is a cool strategy. Now, in this case, it was actually the Legion who pulled the camp, just so she could get some wave. She was having a tough time. She side pulls, gets her wave. Makes sense, right? But the way you can do this for yourself is, let's say you push in the lane, right? You auto attack the wave down, you shove it in, you're having a good lane. What you want to do is walk over here and pull it up, right? If you're not on Dire and you're on Radiant, you can try to pull it outward. It does still work. All in all, you just want to farm these side camps. The reason why you want to pull is because it makes it easier, but still, if your lane is very simple or very, advantageous, you can even farm side camps at minute 6 by yourself, right? The W now is what have skeletons, right? That's what have skeletons. You pop it once you 4. If you pop it and tank the camp for your skeletons, you can farm side camps. This early into the game, it's incredible. You see him do it here. He pops his skeletons and farms up the side camp. Then, what's even better is they're obviously going to follow you to the lane. A lot of heroes can't deal with the skeletons. Legion, as long as she's maxing her Q, can, right? So in this case, the skeletons are mediocre for fighting, but they're still great for farming, and that's what we'll see here. They're really just going to push in the lane. Now in this case, as I said, they're going aggressive. It's because of the support matchups, right? The support to the Legion matchup. But he can really put a lot of pressure on the tower here, right? It's very nice how much pressure you can put on with this hero with very little risk. When your skeletons are dying, back up and go back to farming. And it doesn't take long to really get your skeletons back up as your crit is reliable. For anyone who doesn't know, Wraith King's crit is now on a 4-second cooldown. It's the old CK crit, right? You know when you're going to get a crit. It's really easy to CS, it's really easy to shove the lanes, and you're basically constantly full HP, considering you have 26% lifesteal on every auto attack. Now, even though what we're about to watch is niche and it isn't actually the optimal play in most games, I still want to show it to you guys so you understand it. What he's about to do is gank this PA. As I said, it's a lane where he's having a very good game, right? He's having a great game, and he has a lane-dominating support who has an OOV, so they can put a lot of pressure. Now, you might be saying, then Speed, what is the optimal play? Well, honestly, for Wraith King, assuming the enemy offlaner has a bit of clear and can defend the tower from your skeletons, which not all of them can, but some can. Let's say it's Axe or Underlord or even a Legion. What you want to do, instead of wasting your time trying to trade with them and push the tower, is you just want to jungle. Wraith King is one of the fastest junglers in the game. Skeletons are incredible. So you kill this camp, then you go to the small camp, then to this camp, then to this camp, then to this camp, and you ask your mid laner to give you mid. That is honestly the most efficient way to play Wraith King. Sure, you might be saying, oh, but Speed, I watched a Wraith King game and they farm the safe lane. Yes, there are situations where, okay, there's no one in your lane, you can shove the safe lane, and it's optimal, it's nice. But for the most part, off laners tend to outscale you. You're probably not going to crush them in lane because you're playing Wraith King, and therefore, what you're going to want to do is just full-time jungle. It's very efficient, it's reliable, and you'll win pubs if you simply go to the jungle. So please listen to me on that. But yeah, in this case, this PA is obviously not having a great game. She's top in the first place because she has 2 deaths, right? She was getting pressured a lot bottom, so she left bottom. But they kill her, and now they take the tower, and oh my gosh, the tower gets shredded! It gets shredded! It's so much damage! And so in this game, as you're gonna see, he doesn't do what I said before. You're gonna say, Speed, you're such a liar, you're a hypocrite. No. It is okay to stay in your lane if you can stay in it. If you have any threat of dying or chance of dying, just leave. That's like honestly the best tip I can give for this hero. Just leave. It's so crucial. However, as we look at this minute 10 fight, if you are having a good game, because the crit is now reliable, right, it's on a 4-second cooldown, it's much easier to prevent yourself from getting kited. Basically what you do is you run at the first person you see. That's typically what Wraith King does. But let's assume you are going to get kited. What you want to do is play around your phase boots and your crit timing. Every time your phase boots and your crit is up, you want to run at someone and crit them. Now in this fight, he's obviously an extreme advantage, so he's just literally going to hit the first person he sees. But because the crit is reliable, you actually know how much damage you're going to do. It's not like old Wraith King, where sometimes you would just one-shot the enemy by critting them twice in a row. Actually, that's 2-shotting. My apologies. It's not like that anymore. It's reliable, especially with phase boots, and I recommend you go phase boots basically every game. It synergizes well with the crit. Now finally, we get to the fun part, thank God! Gosh, I thought I was about to watch a full game of him actually fighting on Wraith King. Nah, but in all seriousness, this is typically what you're going to be doing like 90% of the games, and I mean that. One thing I do want you guys to keep in mind that I think a lot of people do forget and don't execute on, even I actually slightly disagree with what he's doing here, but what he's doing is he's letting the skeletons finish off all the CS. The thing you want to keep in mind is that if you don't get the last hit on Wraith King, you actually don't get the skeleton charge, and so a lot of the time, even though you do want to let the skeletons finish it off for quote-unquote efficiency, you will have to lose a bit of efficiency to actually get the CS. Nonetheless, the reason why he does do this, and typically why you do this, is because you want to actually lead the skeletons to their next objective, right? You want to give them vision of the next camp you want them to run to. In this case, he wants them to run to the small camp, so he gives vision of the small camp, and they'll farm that for him while he pushes in the top wave. And yeah, if you guys do all these things correctly, you'll hit an extremely early Radiance timing. Now, I want to make sure you guys look at this game and don't say, oh, he's fighting all the time, he's constantly showing up to engagements, that's what I should do. This team is having a great game. They're 6k ahead. Obviously, not every game is going to look like this. Every lane won, right? So you might be saying, Speed, why are you even looking at this game? Well, I just like the skill build. I like this execution. I like this general movements. But a lot of games, you're not going to have a fantastic game. You're not going to crush your lane. You're not going to have teammates who stomp everything. So focus on hitting your timings and don't be afraid to just farm the triangle and spam your skeletons. That's another good tip. Spam skeletons. You might be saying, Speed, that's a basic tip. Yes, it is, but people don't do it. In the early game, if you have 4 to 5 skeletons, just use it. Don't wait for 8. The next thing is you're going to hit a very early Radiance timing if you execute on this strategy. Knowing that, what should you do with the Radiance timing? Well, I recommend you buy a smoke and you click it on your team. That's the best thing you can do. It really is. Now, sometimes that's a bit hard, so the second best thing you can do is continue to farm, shove waves, but actually look to engage, right? If you see your team fighting, go phase boots over. You know, this is the point in the game where you do basically want to show up to every fight, as long as you have Reincarnation or Radiance. If you have Reincarnation, push in lanes, right? Force the enemy team to respond. Let your team set up the plays for the most part. Do not siege towers. Look at this clip, okay? Ready? Right here. As he's pushing in bottom, right? This tower gets glyphed. Annoying tier 2s, you know, it gets glyphed. Back to hitting the creeps, okay? Now, after that, he's going to shove the next lane. That's pretty normal. Notice how he doesn't go and hit the tower. Why doesn't he hit the tower here? Okay? Because I guarantee, most 2-3k players would have hit it here. Would have been like, oh, there's a card, I have Radiance, I have Reincarnation. You get what I'm saying, right? The reason why he doesn't hit it is because he doesn't see anybody. He doesn't want to get swapped into an X and get chain stunned under the tower and die twice. You still can die twice. It's the early game. You can die twice. You have 1400 HP. You're not that tanky yet, right? And so, he doesn't push a tower, right? He sees no one. He doesn't want to have the typical Wraith King issue where it's like, oh, I'm Wraith King, I'm just gonna go kill myself, and then you die twice in a row with your team not responding. So instead, he actually TP's top here. He goes, pushes into the top wave, actually finds a PA, which is great, right? It's a great play. The PA is like, oh, Wraith King's bottom, they're gonna go bottom. Funny enough, he ends up bumping into her. I don't think that was intentional, but he even draws a line. He's like, hey guys, let's play the top side of the map. So yeah, naturally, he's gonna run at this PA. Kind of doesn't throw his stun early here. I think he wanted to try to kill her. So the reason why he doesn't throw his stun early here, I know this is a bit niche, but it is an important thing. He doesn't throw it right away just because he didn't want the PA to be able to TP out right away. So yeah, he's just kind of holding his stun, chilling, and was going to throw it there because he felt like she was in kill range. So at this point in the game, his team is crushing, and yeah, he could do anything he wants and probably still win, besides diving towers. That could actually throw the game. Here he's cutting the wave, he's not diving, okay? There's a big difference. There's a big difference. Even after they kill his tier 2 here, notice how they don't run at up high ground. Let's all clap it up for the Mars player and the Wraith King player. Let's clap it up, guys. They deserve it. They didn't kill themselves. No, but I mean it. You know, just don't kill yourself running up high grounds. Play the game slow. Continue to hit timings. I don't care how good your game is, how strong you feel. Because this Wraith King, when you hit this Radiance timing, and by the way, I recommend you aim for a 15 to 18 minute Radiance. In this game, he got it a minute like 14. He was dumpstering though, he even won his lane, so I think 15 to 18 is a lot more reasonable. But you know, 15 to 16 is definitely what I would aim for every game, especially if you plan on spamming Wraith King, which I think is a good idea. And yeah, for the next 4 minutes, he's gonna hit a lot of creeps. He never goes high ground. In this game, he doesn't even force Roche. Wraith King isn't that good at roshing. It's not terrible, but it's very slow. So typically, you're just better off farming unless you have other heroes that can help you do it. This game, like, his team is abysmal in roshing. They're so bad. So yeah, he doesn't force it, which I think is a great decision, right? Really nice. And in terms of items, he goes Radiance, Wand, Blink into this weird item, Overwhelming Blink. It gives you a lot of strength, okay, that's great, but he buys it obviously mostly for the active. After teleportation, all enemies in an 800 AoE have 50% movement speed slow, 50 attack speed slow for 6 seconds, and take damage equal to 200 plus 100% of your strength. It's incredible, right? It really is insane how much damage this actually does, considering he has 100 strength. When he blinks on people, it slows them for 6 seconds. I don't know why it's so long, but it is. And it does 300 damage, so he gets a 300 damage nuke. You can see he uses it onto the PA here. And woof, no attack speed. It's so good for manning up, it really is. The only problem is it is pretty expensive, but as you see here, it's a huge AoE. Dude, the AoE on this thing is massive. It is massive. Like, it is really massive. And yeah, whew, this game is absolutely over. And yeah, we're going to end it up just about there. I think this build is honestly fascinating, where you buy this Overwhelming Blink early. It is, you know, it's so good for team fighting. In combination with the Radiance, the enemy team has less attack speed, less evasion, right? They're slowed for 6 seconds, which is just, it's just ridiculous. Like, what other 6-second slows are in Dota? I guess there's a few, but, you know, like, oh my god. I mean, everyone around him, they barely can auto-tech him. I mean, look at this here. We're going to end the video here. Look at this, okay? They're going to disengage. The enemy team thinks he's about to run away. Psych! He is in. He goes in. This guy is slowed. This guy is slowed. This guy is slowed. This Earthshaker, fortunately, was just barely out of the radius. It was very close. And he's going to go on the Venge, right? Reliable crit. Very nice. This Venge is even pretty tanky, right? Pretty high armor support. But he goes in, and yeah, they all just have reduced attack speed. So he really doesn't take that much damage, right? It's really not that much damage. It's quite good. And even though he ends up going down here and feeds, which is why you don't dive high ground, it's still a lot of damage. You can see he almost 1v4. But remember, guys, we'll end the video there. No matter how far ahead you are, if you're trying to throw your Dota games, you go to high ground before you get an Aegis. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next